to start sharing my screen. And I hope you are having a good day. I have to tell you, I'm really not happy with this weather. I find it cold and yucky, and I'm very unmotivated. But talking about AI is something that really motivates me, and I am hoping that you will enjoy it as well. Like I said, I have put a link to this slide deck in the chat, and I will continue to share that throughout the evening. And let's get started. Let's see if I can put this. And we've got a couple other people coming in. Great. Okay, so you're here tonight to learn about AI, and I can tell you that by the time you finish, you will be able to find at least one use that will help you either streamline your day, make your life a little easier. And for those people that just joined, I have put a link to the slide deck in the chat. I like to make my slide decks interactive so that you can take and use. My name is Karen Leonard, and I am the Program Director of AI and Digital Learning at our Oklahoma State Department of Education. I love brainstorming with people and sharing with people. Email me if you have questions, and I promise you I will get back with you. And I'd love to be a thought partner for you as you help begin to implement AI either in your classroom or in your school. So tonight, I am going to start off by sharing some basic information about AI. If we're going to use it, we need to know a little bit about it and how it works. We're going to understand how AI can impact education. And then I'm going to share resources for learning and using AI. We've still got some more people coming in. Thank you for joining us. I am putting the slide deck link in the chat, so you can follow along if you want or use it in the future. But you do have to be a little bit interactive. I know y'all have your cameras off, mine's on, but tell me in the chat, what is one thing that worries you most about AI? I'm pretty sure I can guess what responses will be. And if you don't put anything, are you telling me that there's no worries about using AI at all? Okay, how to use AI with younger children or in pre-K, that you're not going to be ready. Lack of critical thinking. Oh, I'm so glad you shared that one. I can challenge you on lack of critical thinking. I think it can take our students even further. And yes, it is changing so fast. It's amazing how quickly things have changed. It's hard to stay on top of it sometimes. And you're right, Jerry, not everyone has a connection. And Kelly, it's good. It can do a lot for our students, but it can also support our students. And Shantae, yes, accuracy and accountability. I'm going to cover all of those tonight. So let's see. First of all, we have to know a little bit about what AI is. So just give me a couple seconds if you're already on board with that. But the first thing I'm here to tell teachers is AI is not here to do your job. Okay. We went into education because we love building relationships with students. We love helping people learn. AI is just a tool that can help you do your job better. Okay, it's not replacing you, but it can extend and enhance. And, I'm going to go on my spiel. I always tell people, not only with just AI, but with technology in general, we don't want our students or our teachers sitting in front of a computer all the time. We use AI and educational technology when it can enhance and extend learning And if it's not doing those two, we don't need our students sitting around a computer all the time. Okay. They need to learn to be collaborative and to build relationships. So, that's something I really feel is super important as we continue. So whether we say we're afraid of AI or not, AI is everywhere. You're using it all the time. This is not one of those things that we can just turn off and say, I'm not going to use this. My children aren't going to use this, because it's already become interwoven in our lives from either Siri or Alexa, or mine's going to start talking in a minute, maybe. And I am a big proponent of ways. And of course, my Alexa wants to help me shop. I love the fact that this is all integrated. And, I sit down and watch a show on Netflix and I'm like, I really like that. And before I know, they're already telling me the next show, or based upon your shopping in Amazon, all of that is AI. So we've been using it. So I'm going to define AI in user-friendly terms. Um, I am actually talking about generative AI. There are multiple kinds, but I'll explain the generative in a minute. First of all, AI is when computers or machines do things that typically require human intelligence. Um, Everything that AI does is based upon a data set. We have to give that tool the information. It doesn't just plan and do on its own, and it trains itself on a data set. I think this is probably the thing that gives me goosebumps every single time. The AI we have today is the least intelligent AI we will ever have. And I've been saying that for about 2 years now, and 2.5 years, and it just continues to refine itself and get better. It can create things, and that's what I mean by generative AI, and it can complete tasks for us. It learns and improves with practice, and it understands human language. We don't have to learn to code to create something new. The AI tools that we're using know how to interact with us in our everyday human language. And it's been around for a while. I believe it was back in the 1950s, our government was using it. It's kind of just infiltrated our society. In 2011, an AI tool competed on Jeopardy against the two human Jeopardy winners, the highest rated Jeopardy winners. And the tool, which was AI, IBM's Watson, won. And we all know that when we went home for Thanksgiving break in November of 2022, during that time, AI, as we first knew it, was released, and teachers were scared. Educators, I mean, school districts were just turning it off. There was so much fear as to what this tool could do. And I think we've come a long way. And I'd like to show you some of the positives of using AI. Again, we have to compare what AI is and what it's not. It's just a tool to support learning and help with other tasks, but it's not intended to be a replacement for a human or for human interaction. It's already embedded in many of our tools, and we can't turn it off. It's not going away. And if we are turning it off or ignoring it, I strongly believe that we are doing an injustice to our children. And now I'm not advocating all children are using AI. We're going to talk about age restrictions soon. It is a tool that can include inaccurate or flawed information, which kind of goes back to some of that critical thinking. We do have to train all users, whether it's students, parents, educators. We have to check for accuracy and bias. It's a tool. We can't just use the output and move on. We have to fact check. And it should be used responsibly and ethically, and it's not considered a pass to cheat or plagiarize. My overall takeaway, it's a tool, humans are important, and education on how to use these tools is key. Again, we have to define some terms. I did refer to generative AI, sometimes called Gen AI. This is the category that is able to create things, maybe text or images or music or even videos now. And it does this by learning a large amount of data and then using that information to create new outputs. The first AI tool that most of us were introduced to was ChatGPT. And now people are kind of using that as a verb. We used to say, I'm going to Google something. Now people are saying, I'm going to ChatGPT that. It's just one tool. It can interact conversationally. And just so you know, the GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. It's pre-trained. We ask it what to do, and it generates something new based upon what it was trained on. But there are many other AI tools out there. Um, I'm going to focus my talk right now on educator use. We'll talk student use, but I have to tell you that whenever I use an AI tool, I normally don't use just one. I use two or three. You might be saying, Karen, that takes a lot of time. I've got it down. It's something that can be done quickly because I might put a prompt, which I'll define in a minute, in two or three tools and ask it to give me output. And I like to kind of Frankenstein information. I take a piece from maybe Claude and a piece from Google Gemini and maybe something else that ChatGPT gave me and mash it all together into my own tool. I also like to be able to use it because different versions, different tools have lots of different output ideas. And it's always really good to be able to check either for consistency, accuracy, or just idea generation. And I said that these tools don't work independently. We have to tell the tool what to do, and that's called a prompt. Users provide a prompt just in normal conversational language. And right now, the more refined your prompt, the better the outcome is. This is again where we're able to teach some of those critical thinking skills. Think of it like garbage in, garbage out. I can tell an AI tool to create a lesson plan for me, but I will get a much more detailed lesson plan if I say, create a 2 class period lesson plan for me using the Oklahoma academic standards for grade 4 and, give it the academic standard specifically. Say that you would like differentiation between EL learners and advanced learners. What kind of hook do you want it to give you to draw attention to the concept for students? Even assessment. The more you tell it, the better the response. And a lot of it's done on predicting. You might see when you're trying to type on your phone or even like in Google Docs, it will kind of predict what your word is. And we can tell that we're old if we're able to predict the last number, 867530. If you were alive in the 80s, you would know that the next number would have been 9. It was a great song. Thank you, Tamia. It's also, these tools are trained, and this tool or this website is a great activity for you and students to see how AI is trained. It's called machine learning. The website is code.org's AI for Oceans. And what you're doing is you're teaching this AI bot to identify images as either fish or not fish. So initially you go through and it's going to show you about 20 images and you're saying, yes, this is a fish. No, this is not a fish. By about the 20th image, the next one, it's going to ask you, is this a fish? And what we find out is it's recognizing the patterns of your responses. It will draw the conclusion that fish have eyes and fins and tails. And it's going to be able to identify a fish, whether it's green or long or tall, just by those characteristics. So it's kind of interesting to see that process. I also like this activity to show students how AI tools in machine learning can be used inappropriately, because I could mistrain this tool to tell it that all items that do not have eyes and tails are fish, and I can train it backwards, because sometimes we just need to experiment and see what happens. How do these tools actually work? And like I mentioned, these tools are trained on a data set, but we do have to be very cautious because nothing is infallible. Data sets can contain gaps in information and bias and untruth. And that again is where we need to teach students. We've talked about digital literacy before. Now we're really encompassing AI and calling it AI literacy and teaching students just because they see it or read it does not mean it's true. We have to evaluate and analyze everything we see now. I mean, think of the elections that are coming up. We're going to be seeing videos created by AI tools that, are going to even cause many of us to determine the validity of what we're seeing. And that's a downfall. We've talked again about natural language processing. These tools are able to speak to us in language that is normal for human. And just to kind of brag on our state, for once, we were the 11th state to publish guidance. I was very proud of that. We are one of, now it's 5 states to have an Office of AI or a position with AI in the title. And I have linked here a YouTube channel where all of my past videos from webinars such as this are housed so that you're able to take that and share that with others in your district and say, hey, there's some good tools out here. And I try, based upon feedback from educators, to create videos, instructional videos, not endorsing different tools, but just showing you the capabilities of different AI tools. I do also want to say that, we do have revised guidance that just went out about 3 weeks ago. These are very, again, hands-on. You're able to pick and take this and implement this in your classrooms now, and I'm going to reference some of that. And we also do have an Office of AI and Digital Learning website where you will be able to access many of the resources referenced. Now let's actually talk about AI, the immediate impact of AI. In education, we're always having new developments and new inventions that have great potential, but also cause some trepidation. We need to ensure our students have academic integrity. That's a prime goal for us to help them live in society. I strongly believe that all students do need to learn, math facts and spelling and reading. Once they have those basic skills, then we can take those basic skills and enhance their learning in order to take them further than ever before. I know I took a statistics class recently, and if I would not have had a calculator, I would not have been able to pass that class. I also know that my husband is extremely dyslexic, and AI tools have been game changers for him. The first thing most educators ask when talking about academic integrity is, I need to have an AI detector. And I have to tell you that as of right now, these are about 85 to 90% inaccurate. I would hate to have you use a tool and accuse a child of using AI when they actually did not. The reason for a lot of this inaccuracy is the fact that as AI tools continue to develop so rapidly, companies are focusing on improving those tools, not going back and looking, can we improve the AI detectors that were originally created? Like I said, lots of false positives. And the thing is, it really can discriminate against non-native English speakers due to the way those learners learn to create and construct in English. And again, there's nothing that would be more disheartening to students if they're accused of using AI, but they didn't. So we're going to talk about, well, how can I know? This came to me from North Carolina, and I was able to modify it. It is actually in our guidance, both the first and second version. I've recommended many schools maybe consider using an acceptable use rating scale. And I'm going to pause a second. When talking about student use of AI, we always have to consider not only ethics, but we have to look at the legality of the tools. Many AI tools are not acceptable for use legally if students are under 14 years old. I know Google Gemini has changed many of their requirements, and if you are a Google district, then you are now able to use Google Gemini with students of any age, depending upon your district's policy. But I believe we have to have firm guardrails for our students. And, when I'm actually talking hands-on use of AI, I'm talking probably introducing it in middle school, but definitely high school. So an acceptable use rating scale, I know I use AI all the time. I also know that there are times when I should and shouldn't use it, and we need to teach that to our students. So by creating or using a scale like this and admitting to students that sometimes it is okay for you to use AI and sometimes it's not, we're training them to think constructively as to what is the output, how much of it needs to be personally generated. And, there might be some assignments. I would probably not only put this on the classroom wall, but I would give students and parents a copy. Say some assignments are a level 0 use. You may not use any AI assistance at all, but there are other times maybe you're using it at a level 1 for idea generation, or maybe 3 for completing certain elements of a task. So they can see the different levels of use, and we're teaching students to disclose their use. It's okay to use it at specific times, but we always need to share. AI helped us in this way. So one school district in California said, boy, they have just become really frustrated. So they created their own Google add-on. And this is a free add-on. It's called AI Trust You. And I love it because, again, you don't have to pay for it. When a teacher opens up a Google Doc to create an assignment to push out through maybe Google Classroom or Canvas, they provide a statement for students saying when it is okay and when it is not okay to use AI. And I'm going to show you real quick because I think that this is one of those things you just have to see. So here in my extension, I've got AI Trust You, and I'm going to build a truth and trust statement. Initially, teachers would go through, can students use AI on this assignment? Yeah, so they're going to generate a statement. Oh, I said Google should not. I'm going to go back and do that one more time. That trust statement that says you cannot appears right in that paper. So there's no, oh, I didn't know I couldn't use this on the student end. So here I'm a teacher. May students use AI? Yes. Which tools can they use? Maybe they can use School AI and or Gemini. And then how specifically are they allowed to use this? Are they allowed to use it to translate, to summarize, to produce a song? So I'm just going to click a couple of these and look, it generates this trust statement that I can paste into a Google Doc. When students receive that assignment, they see that right there. Then when students go to submit theirs, they use the same tool and they're going to build their own trust statement. And it's going to basically ask you the same questions. Did you use AI? What did you use? Approximately what percentage of your work was with AI? How did you use it? And then that statement goes in there directly. And I think that that's really good because, again, we're teaching students to disclose their use, and it's just flat out there. And some other schools have said that if even after a trust statement or the usage guidelines, you know your students. Some districts have been asking students to create writing samples every quarter so that they have those student writing samples and compare them when students turn in work that does not look anything like theirs. I know other schools have either manually asked students questions about their writing or created little quizzes to ensure students are familiar with the content. So there are other ways to assess AI use beyond just an AI detector. I do want you to know, though, while I appreciate the benefits of AI, I think we also need to be cautious. And even with our younger students, we can start at pre-K teaching and modeling appropriate use of AI. And think of our young children, which aren't so young anymore, that were stuck at home during COVID and started to develop issues with building relationships. And then they go online and see someone like Sophie. Sophie looks very lifelike, and I'm not sure if she's working right now, but she is able to have a
Hey
conversation.
there.
Oh,
Welcome to the unique website. I'm Sophie, your digital guide. What brings you here today?
so I can interact with Sophie either through text or speech, and I can ask her questions like, Sophie, what is the weather like in Edmond, Oklahoma right now?
That's right. You can chat with me in your own words, whether that's typing or speaking. I'm here to help with your questions. However, I'm a digital human designed to talk about unique and digital humans, not the weather. Looking
Uh-huh.
for something specific about digital humans, or perhaps how they can help your.
Which I love the fact that she stated, I'm calling her a she, I know it's an AI tool, stated that she is an AI tool, non-human. Research has shown that up to 60% of our high school and college age students are using AI tools either for friendships, relationships, therapy advice, and we just need to ensure that students do not become affixed or enamored with non-human people, tools. This is actually a list of some of the more notorious companion AI tools. Look at this one, Nami, an AI companion with a memory and a soul. We know that that's not true. How can we help our students understand that? These are ones that I've recommended that districts block, but as with any form of AI, new tools and new websites are constantly being developed. We just want to ensure that our students develop relationships with humans, not tools. Words I never thought I would say. So teaching and learning with AI. Some concerns. We know that generative AI is still a new technology. We have lots of issues or concerns about academic integrity. We should always be concerned about data privacy, inaccuracy and unreliable AI, and access to all. But Let's think positively. AI can be used to supplement human intelligence. Here are some quick prompts that you're able to just copy and paste. Provide a step-by-step summary of how to divide double-digit numbers by double-digit numbers. What are 10 takeaways a student should have about the water cycle at whatever grade level? We don't always have to start from scratch. It is kind of nice to be able to brainstorm. What are 10 things I should know about dyslexia? Not using student individual names or data, but in general, it's a great way to think. It can also help us make better decisions. I'm able to ask it to create a list of pros and cons for different things. Now, I don't always have to believe in their pros and cons. Maybe that's when I'm using 2 or 3 different tools and comparing pros and cons. Oftentimes, it will come up with either pros or cons that I had not thought of. And again, it does not replace humans. It can boost our expertise and definitely can improve productivity. I'll share examples. But I want you to think right now, we've just started school. Picture a 10-year-old in 5th grade. If everything goes well, they'll graduate from high school in 8 years, graduate from college in 12 years, maybe. Um, 12 years ago, that was 2013. And I want you to think of where you were and what you were doing and what your life was like and what some of the tools you use now. How much has our world changed since 2013? So let's jump ahead 12 years. Many things that we have now I couldn't have predicted. 2037 is when those students could be graduating from college. What kind of future are we preparing them for? Because we're not really sure what that's going to be like. And here's the kicker. Our kindergartners this year could probably be eligible to retire in 2085. I know I won't be around, but what will life be like for them? So AI can affect student learning in many ways. It can provide maybe personalized support, definitely writing development. I know that that's kind of a surprise. Can help with student engagement and accessibility. So let me show you some real examples. Um, we're talking about that by 2030, in 5 years, these are employers that are looking for skills on the rise. And look at that, 88% of companies want their employees to have an understanding of AI and big data. Sorry, I need to reorganize this order. So responsible use of AI. We need to teach prompt engineering and source evaluation. And I'm going to skip ahead. Oh, so for elementary students, I am not saying elementary students are the ones doing the use of AI, but I heard and saw a 2nd grade that had some interesting uses. The teacher was the one doing the input in the tool, and they were assessing student understanding of the elements of a story. So the teacher was the one doing the typing and formative assessment. What kind of setting could you like for a story? And so the student says, outer space, and when do we want that? Let's have that around Christmas time in the year of 2055. And who's the main character? Who could be some supporting characters? The teacher puts that in and then asks it to generate a story starter. And here's the great part. Students can accept that story starter and continue to write the remainder of the story, or they can say, oh, I don't like that one. Can you give me another version? So we're teaching students that they don't have to always accept the first output, and we can ask it to be refined. Middle school students, we need to introduce the concepts of bias and privacy and appropriate use. And then at the high school level, we're really talking about that deep dive into ethics and societal impact, scenarios that are ethical impacts and career explanation, career preparation. Most educators use AI for content creation, like I've referenced lesson planning, quizzes, writing prompts. They can do personalized learning, adaptive practice, administrative tasks. It does say grading, and I'm saying more of that formative assessment feedback, and I'm going to show you a couple methods for that. And this one is the lowest hanging branch, the easiest to do, translation. I am sure many of you have families that are non-English speaking in your school or district. I created some family guides to help families understand the use of AI. And what I did is I created them all in English, and then I copied and pasted the English version and put it into ChatGPT and said, translate this into Spanish, which I might have been able to do, and Vietnamese. Now, I had to validate the authenticity of that output. So I took the Vietnamese that ChatGPT gave me and put it into Google Gemini and Microsoft Copilot and said, translate this back to English. And that allowed me to assess the validity and were there different connotations that I wasn't expecting. And then I would probably put a disclaimer that this was created by, I'm, you know, something about the fact that I'm apologize for any of the invalid information, but I think you would be able to communicate with families that probably really would like to be involved, that just maybe don't even know what's going on in the school, and you're able to reach them. And I think that that's going to help with family engagement. We've got text to speech and visual descriptions. Another low-hanging fruit is levelized text. You can take text from an object, a book, copy and paste it in and tell it to rewrite it at a higher or lower reading level. So maybe you've got a science article and you've got students in 8th grade. Some of them have like 12th grade, college level vocabulary. They're not challenged reading it at the 8th grade level. You can re-level that, but you can also re-level it. So maybe we've got some readers that are still struggling. We can level that into 5th grade reading. Everyone can read the same concept at their own reading level. Not saying we want to keep them at a 5th grade reading level. We want to be able to bump them up and help them develop the reading skills, but they're able to interact and understand concepts that may be challenging. So I took an 8th grade US history text and I copied it and pasted it and asked it to put it at a 4th grade reading level. Same concept, different words, but again, a different way to meet those learner needs. I can also remix student work, maybe take student writing and turn it into haiku or poem. So I took the 8th grade text and I said, I'd like you to create a haiku on this content. So maybe I don't explain to students what a haiku is, and I rewrite this and I share that, and we talk about what do you notice, what do you wonder, and we identify what a haiku is, what are the elements, and then maybe they create their own. This is one of those times when I don't have to create every single sample or example for students. The tool can do it for me. So we're incorporating the use of AI, but sometimes it's not even with students using the tool. New ideas, think, pair, share, provide samples, and allow students to grade AI responses. I spoke with an English AP teacher, and she was saying that one of the favorite activities her students have had so far is to create, based upon an AP writing prompt, have AI create a response that would receive like a score of a 2. She would share that paper with the students and have them go through and analyze it. What's missing? Why did it receive a 2? It wasn't any other student's work, so there wasn't any shaming. And then they would take that grade of a 2 and rewrite it so it could reach maybe a 5 or 6. I thought that was ingenious. Maybe I'm using AI to create a rubric and have students grade a sample of something using that rubric before they create their own writing where you will be using that rubric to grade and assess them. We don't have to start from scratch. We can debate with a topic. I liked this. Here are, again, copies of the 8th grade US history book, but I put it into 2 different tools and I said, summarize this or write a story, an essay. And I like the fact that they're completely different. Students can analyze, what do they like about each version? Is any of the concept lost during that? Students might like the Copilot sample because it's broken down into chunks, but others might like the story version of the Gemini output. You can ask it for analogies, compare something, create lesson hooks. Another favorite of mine is ask AI for common misconceptions. So let's say I am not math oriented. I am going to teach an Algebra 1 class. I do not understand how, let's maybe say geometry. I don't understand how to teach the concept of proofs. I'm going to ask AI, what are some common misconceptions students encounter when learning how to do proofs in geometry? I think I would use this frequently before teaching new concepts, especially for some of our maybe emergency certified educators or some that are early educators that just haven't had that experience. I would love to know some of those common misconceptions so that I'm better able to go in and serve my students and provide them that in the moment support that they need. Oh, I recognize what you're doing. We can have conversations and then validate whether the conversations from a time period were relevant or authentic. And the one thing I always say, we always have to have humans in the loop. AI is just a tool. We, as humans, tell it what to do with our prompts. It generates something. And if we just take that generation and use it, that is not responsible use of AI. A human has to analyze that output, remix it, refine it, and make it theirs. So I don't know if any of you have heard of School AI. This is a wonderful, you can use a free version of it. I'm going to sign in very quickly. What I like about this tool is students join using a code or it can be pushed out into Google Classroom. They do not have to create an account and they don't have to sign in. But I am going to look at their spaces and let me go to Discover. Many of these are already pre-created. I am going to go to, I can talk with different characters. I'm going to go back up to one of mine that I've created before. And let's see. Here's the Constitutional Convention. I created this. It took like 3 or 4 minutes. I wanted to teach about the Constitutional Convention. And so oh gosh, I can edit my prompt. It asked me and talked me through this so that I can save and launch. And as a student, oh, I'm not going to be able to let you see it right now. It's pretty amazing because students have to pick one of the original 13 colonies, anyone they want, so it's self-choice, and discuss the benefits of the Constitutional Convention from the perspective of that colony. And what happens is, as students go through this, and I'm trying to see where it is, we can see every student's individual responses. And this tool does not tell students answers. It just asks questions. So they're having their own experience with this tool. And again, educators can see the thought process every student is having. And we've never really had that experience before. The only person that can see The responses are the teacher and the student. And again, I'm just really having a tough time. I'm not quite able to show you. But the other tool I want to show you is Snorkel. Another one, I'm not saying that these are the best. I'm just sharing ideas of things that I've seen that are pretty amazing. I'm going to log in for free with Snorkel. What I like about this is, again, I'm going to try a sample activity. These are already created in here. All kinds of things from kindergarten through high school. I am going to show my rectangular frame. And here's one of my favorites. Here's a blank whiteboard. Every student can get a blank whiteboard. Here's a math problem, okay? How many times have students worked on math problems independently, not understood what mistakes they've made? So I can record my screen and my voice. So I read it and I say, here's what I know. This is a rectangle. Rectangles have two legs, two arms or edges that are sides that are shorter than the other, but both parallel sides are the same length. And if this were to be 29 centimeters, then this is 29 centimeters. I know that because those are the same length. I know that the perimeter is 146. So in order to get that, I would take 146 and then I would have to subtract the sum of those. And I'll tell you, again, it was recording. I'm going to submit that. And let me show you what it does. It immediately generates feedback for learners. Again, as an educator, I can see everyone's screen. No one sees anything else. It's going to assess my feedback on a scale of 1 to 4. And it is going to listen to what I've shared and see what I've drawn, and it's going to give personalized feedback. It said on this, my answer is incorrect because I didn't complete it. It says, great start. You correctly identified that opposite sides of a rectangle are equal. And it goes through and look, down here, it's like, now, what can you do? How can you finish the calculation to find what the actual width is? So students can go back and sample, and I'm going to return to the teacher mode. You can create your own, but look at this. These are already pre-created. So again, I am talking from high school US history. There are activities created for Spanish and French, high school physics, but we also have kindergarten. And these look at all of the students can read fluency passages and you're able to go back in. So maybe they're sitting in a corner reading it on their own. Think, what was the kindergarten or the early learning, uh, not sandbox, but I'm sure many of you know what I'm talking about, the tool that allows students to submit their work. This is like that on steroids. Just a really interesting tool to use. So I've talked Snorkel. One of the things we have to understand is we use AI to enhance, but not to replace human thought. We always are, Seesaw, thank you. We're talking about ethical use. We have to have that stakeholder engagement. That means co-teachers, school administrators, family, and we have to consider the student age and what is appropriate. We always remember that student identifiable, personally identifiable information is nothing that should ever be shared in an AI tool. So some AI resources. One of my favorite recommendations is this top one. These are all linked. Google's Generative AI for Educators is a free, about 2-hour course, super well organized. You can use it even if you're not a Google school. It'll walk you through the process and it will say, you know, it would suggest using Google Gemini, but if you're not a Google Gemini user, you could use any other tool, and every activity is related to education. The next one down is Google AI Essentials. This one is pretty amazing also. Any resident of Oklahoma can take this course for free. Google was extremely generous because they have a facility here and they're building more. And this is an agreement between Google and Governor Stitt. It would normally cost $49 for someone to take this course. Think of our college students that may need to learn AI. Think of maybe our high school students. Think of some of our parents. This is a great way to be introduced to prompt writing and AI. Some of our students may or family members may need to go to the next level. This is an extremely challenging course, but you really are learning more about how AI tools work. There's also lots of free curriculum out there. We are going to have our first ever hour of AI at our Oklahoma Society and Technology Education Conference in November. We've talked about hour of code, and now they're weaving that in. We're going to have an hour of AI. There are lots of applicable ideas here. I love this ISTE and General Motors projects. What I like is they have these hands-on AI projects for middle school, for exploratory classes. This one's focusing on ethics and AI, and they have one for elementary school that the majority of the activities are non-computer. They are hands-on, talking about learning some of those computer science skills on how AI works. The Teach AI Toolkit has some great information for parents as well. Great sample family newsletters. If you haven't played with an AI creation or image creation tool, these are amazing. I hope all of you as educators know that you're able to get a free Canva educator license that just opens up so many doors. They have some great tools built into that are AI tools. I was really having fun one day trying to create Muppet-like images, and I found that my prompt writing strengthened because I wasn't happy with the image. So I had to go back and refine my prompt. And I think that's a great way to get students engaged in prompt revision. If they don't like what they see, they can recreate it. So I know our time is almost up. Key takeaway, you are the teacher. AI is a tool, not a replacement. You are special. Your expertise guides the learning. Your relationships are what matter the most. Your creativity are what makes lessons special, and your judgment keeps our students safe. AI can just help you be an even better teacher. Um, if this has been something that you found interesting, I will be doing half-day regional workshops throughout the fall. There are registrations for each of these. I am doing a morning session. Mine is from 8:30 to 11:30 in each of these locations. These will not be recorded, but these are hands-on, and these are actually using the tools and diving in and getting experience. You're attending this session tonight, but in September, I'm going to be doing one specifically on AI literacy, teaching how to identify validity and what our students actually need to know. And then in October, we're going to talk about writing strong AI prompts so you get the tool to do what you really want it to do. I hold AI office hours the third Tuesday of every month. They are come, drop and go, whatever you need. Sometimes we just need someone to talk to, and you may not have that time during the day to talk to anyone in your district. It's a Zoom experience. You can register there and come and go and ask questions. So you have let me talk a lot. Any questions, comments, thoughts? Have you learned something new?